Good evening. Welcome to the Maundy Thursday service here at Winfree Church. Whether you're here in the room with us or joining us online, we welcome you. So we want to say just a couple of little logistic kinds of things that we hope that you picked up Lord's Supper elements on the way in. If you did not do that, then perhaps during one of our congregational hymns, somebody could slip back and pick one up. If you would prefer a gluten-free wafer, then those are also available in the back. And so as you deal with your own little communion set stuff here, then you can just avoid pulling off the top cellophane-ish layer and just go down to the juice. So when it comes time, that's what we'll do. I'm not going to pause for any further directions, but we'd peel back the top layer, partake with the bread, peel back the second layer, and partake with the juice. I do want to say that if you are a guest of ours, you're not a member of Winfree Church, you are still more than welcome to participate with us in communion if you're a follower of Jesus Christ. We consider this the Lord's table, not the property of any particular church or denomination. So perhaps one last thing, and that is that towards the end of the service, there's a line in here that says, giving our tithes and offerings. I'm sorry, that's a misprint. You'll be so sad to know we're not going to collect an offering tonight. Right. So thank you very much. Now, if you would open and follow along in your worship guide and take just a moment or so for reflection to begin our service.
Dear friends, let us love one another, for love comes from God. Everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God. Whoever does not love God does not know God, because God is love. Dear friends, since God so loved us, we all ought to love one another. No one has ever seen God, but if we love one another, God lives in us, and his love is made complete in us.
If anyone acknowledges that Jesus is the Son of God, God lives in them, and they in God. And so we know and rely on the love God has for us. God is love. Whoever lives in love lives in God, and God in them. This is how love is made complete among us, so that we will have confidence on the day of judgment. In this world, we are like Jesus.
We love because he first loved us. Whoever claims to love God, yet hates a brother or sister, is a liar. For whoever does not love their brother and sister, whom they have seen, cannot love God, whom they have not seen. And he has given us this command: anyone who loves God must also love their brother and sister.
As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Now remain in my love. If you keep my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commands and remain in his love. I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends.
If I speak with human eloquence and angelic ecstasy, but don't love, I'm nothing but the creaking of a rusty gate. If I have faith that says to a mountain, jump, and it jumps, but I don't love, I'm nothing. If I give everything I own to the poor, and even go to the stake to be burned as a martyr, but I don't love, I've gotten nowhere. So, no matter what I say, what I believe, and what I do, I'm bankrupt without love. Love never gives up. Love cares more for others than for self. Love doesn't want what it doesn't have. Love doesn't strut, doesn't have a swelled head, doesn't force itself on others, isn't always me first, doesn't fly off the handle, doesn't keep score of the sins of others. Love takes pleasure in the flowering of truth, puts up with anything, trusts God always, always looks for the best, never looks back, but keeps going to the end. Love never dies. We don't yet see things clearly. We're squinting in a fog, peering through a mist, but it won't be long before the weather clears and the sun shines bright. We'll see it all then, see it all as clearly as God sees us, knowing him directly just as he knows us. But for right now, until that completeness, we have three things to lead us towards that consummation: faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love.
Maundy Thursday. That's why we're here. So-called Maundy because it's built off the Latin word for mandate, a command. This is about the command. And it is based on these two sections out of the final discourse in John, which we've been looking at on Sundays. John 13, 34 and 35 says, "A new command I give you. Love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another." And then a little later, John 15:12. "My command is this, love each other as I have loved you." But beyond these verses, in the final discourse, which is John chapters 13 to 17, Jesus uses the word love 31 times. 31 times in those few chapters. Love is obviously crucial to what Jesus wants to communicate to his disciples on that last night. And I think one of the things that's most interesting to me is that Jesus commanded us to love others. Commanded. So a first thought of mine is, you can't command a feeling. That's like telling a depressed person, I command you to be happy. Good luck with that. Not very likely to be successful. And now, maybe we can do some things to nurture a feeling, or to squelch a feeling, or deaden a feeling. But at its core, our feelings are not available like dropping coins in a vending machine and hitting the right number and some feelings just drop out. You can't command yourself to feel something. And so I don't think that Jesus was commanding us to feel all warm and squishy for each other, or to feel all warm and squishy for people who are mean or harsh to us or to someone that we love. But that is true only if the love that Jesus was talking about is a feeling inside. Something like out of a Shakespearean poem or a pop song on the radio. But the love of Jesus is not just a warm feeling. The love that Jesus talks about is action. Specifically, action that is beneficial for the other person. And maybe even more, actions that are sacrificial on our part for the benefit, for the good of someone else. That's the kind of love that Jesus showed. Now, sure, Jesus had emotions. He was heavy of heart. We see that in the Gospels. He got angry. We read that in the Gospels. At times, he was even someone who wept. We can find that in the Gospels. So Jesus certainly had emotions, but overwhelmingly, the love of Jesus is about what he did and the words that he spoke. And that is why Jesus can command us to love, because he's calling us to action, not just simply calling us to a feeling. An action we can do, even if we don't necessarily feel like it. And so, P.S., I'll also say this, that often I've found in my own personal experience that if I choose to act in a loving manner towards someone, even if I don't feel like it, it's usually not very long until the feelings appear too. It's more like the actions of love are the locomotive on a train. They go in a direction, they pull the weight, and the feelings are more like the caboose. And they will come along eventually. And so we're called to love in action. The things that we do, and that with words, even that we say to each other, that's an action. And Jesus says that we are to love each other like he loved us. Like he loved us? Love at that sacrificial level? I mean, remember, Jesus is headed to the cross out of love for us. And that's the love that we're supposed to show to our Christian brothers and sisters, to the world, even to those people who are our enemy, because we're called to love our enemies too, like that, like Jesus loved us. Honestly, that sounds like a burden. To love people like that, that's an impossibly high bar to clear. So in the world of track and field, a high school boy state champion is going to jump something over 6 feet high. The world record for the high jump is just over 8 feet high. 8 feet high. Now, I can assure you that I cannot now clear an 8-foot bar, nor when I was 18 and young and spry could I come close to clearing an 8-foot bar. I'm never going to clear an 8-foot bar. And to love others, to love everyone, like Jesus loved, that sounds about as impossible as clearing an 8-foot bar. But instead, I want you to think of it like this. Love as you have been loved. Think of it not as an impossible bar to clear. Think of it instead as the gas in the tank, the juice in the battery. The love that you have received, the love that you have experienced, that empowers you to love in the same way. The love that you have experienced from Jesus in your own life enables you to love people in that very same way. Love as He has loved you. Because frankly, I think it would be very difficult to love people in a way that I've never even experienced myself. So how has Jesus loved you? Has Jesus loved you and given you second chances? Then give others second chances. And by the way, the answer to that question is yes. Jesus has loved you and given second chances. So pass that on to others. And things that you have said in haste, in frustration, in depression, in anger, has Jesus forgiven you and loved you and looked past those things that you said? Then that hurtful remark that someone else said to you in anger, in depression, that cutting remark, that snide cut in public, in the same way that Jesus loved you, love them and forgive them and look past it. Has there been some occasion where you promised God that you would do something and then you didn't follow through? But God loved you anyway? Then when someone disappoints you and lets you down and didn't follow through, love them anyway. When you broke a rule, a commandment, something very specific and clear that God has said to you, has God just written you off? Then when that other person offends like that, don't just write them off either. And when we're just worn out, beat down, too tired to do the right thing anymore, did Jesus keep on keeping on with you when you were too tired to keep on? Then towards that other person who is flagging or failing, keep on. Or as we talked about Sunday, when you walked away from Him, did Jesus nonetheless stick with you? Then stick with them. The point being, we love others as we have experienced God's love in our own life. That's all we can do. But that is what we are called to do. And so when we feel incapable of finding love for that other person, then maybe what we should do is examine our own lives for those ways in which we have experienced God's love, where we have evidence of God's love in our own tent, and then use that experience to help us love others, to obey this commandment. Love as He has loved us. Thank you, choir, Jennifer. That was beautiful. So certainly of all the ways in which Jesus demonstrated his love for us, from that moment he left glory, came, lived a simple life, of all of the things he did and said, certainly the experience on the cross is the ultimate demonstration of his love. And so we do this as he asked us to do, to remember his sacrifice of love. So Jesus was with the disciples there in the upper room that last night. And he took some bread and he blessed it. And then he broke it. And he said, "This is my body that's broken for you. Take and eat." And then he took a cup and he blessed it. And he told them to pass it around, everyone to take a drink. Because he said, "This is a new covenant between God and man. This is my blood that's spilled for you. Take and drink." And the scriptures tell us they sang a song.
Let us read responsively 684. When they came to the place called the Skull, there they crucified him, along with the criminals, one on his right, the other on his left. The people stood watching, and the rulers even sneered at him. They said, "He saved others. Let him save himself if he is the Christ of God, the chosen one."
The soldiers also came up and mocked him. They offered him wine and vinegar and said, "If you are the king of the Jews, save yourself."
There was a written notice above him which read, "This is the King of the Jews."
One of the criminals who hung there hurled insults at him. "Are you the Christ? Save yourself and us."
But the other criminal rebuked him. "Don't you fear God," he said, "since you are under the same sentence? We are punished justly, for we are getting what our deeds deserve, but this man had done nothing wrong."
Then he said, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom."
Jesus answered him, "I tell you the truth. Today you will be with me in paradise."
Jesus already